Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Some of you folks may wonder how we can grow peonies on a commercial level here in Alaska. It's not easy. Nothing about farming is easy, but there are some unique things that we have to contend with. You know, like any farm, raising a crop, commodity that you know, they all need fertilization, irrigation, weeding, those kind of things. All of that's in common. But when it comes to peonies in Alaska, another thing that we need and we have to have, there's no substitute for, and that's protection from the winter cold. And the last several days, you know, we've been minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and that can become quite an issue. If peonies, the roots, if they freeze, the water in them will expand, they'll burst, and then the root dies. So you need some form of protection up here in these kind of climates to keep them healthy and viable. At a commercial level, you know, mulching is not possible. For a home gardener, or on a small scale, you could probably use straw or leaves or some other mulching capability to keep the ground relatively warm and keep those roots healthy. On a commercial scale, though, that's just not, for the most part, it's not practical. So what do we do here in Alaska? Well, if you look behind me, you look around me, you see these are the peony fields right here, and they're covered in several feet of snow, and that's what we rely on. Now that may seem kind of strange for somebody from Florida, but the snow is actually quite insulating. These peonies that are in the field back here behind me, they're under about 5 feet of snow, fluffy snow, a nice white blanket, and keeps them perfectly happy. We were took part in a study University of Alaska Fairbanks conducted a few years ago, and we put a sensor out into the field, and every minute it monitored the air and the ground temperature and the soil moisture. And what we found, or we discovered here over time, is that at the beginning of winter, the soil temperature would drop, and then as soon as we got some snow, that temperature would come back up. And we found that by the time we got about 6 inches of snow on the ground, that the soil temperature at the surface was about 31 degrees. And it would sit there all winter, as long as that cover was there. And the deeper the snow they got, it just sat there. It just hovered right there, which is ideal. So the heat was rising, or at least I theorized that the heat was rising back up, keeping it at a constant temperature there, and it was perfect. Now the problem we have is, of course, it's just like a farmer, you know, down in the lower 48 that depends on rain to irrigate his corn or wheat or whatever. You know, we depend on that snow to come, and when that snow doesn't come, that's when we're in trouble. And of course, it has to come in at a timely manner as well. If you get 20 below for a week and then it snows, hasn't done you any good, has it? So there's always that game to play where lower 48, they may be looking for rain, we're looking for snow. And if we don't get it, then bad things happen. And this is just a classic example of that for me and for us here on Eagle Song this winter. For the past 8 days, it's been down to 30, 35 below zero, and it's only warming up to about 17, 18 degrees for an hour, and then right back down again. But I'm not worried about the fields because the snow is here, they're covered, and they're doing quite well, and I fully expect in the springtime they'll come up just as healthy as can be, and none the worse for wear. But it is something that we have to contend with, and we fret about, and we think about, and keeps us awake at night sometimes. So, growing peonies in Alaska, we've got to have snow. And in those areas that don't have snow, they have a very difficult time keeping their plants alive. And for those of you that are out there that have a few peonies, you know, a lesson for you is to mulch your peonies in the fall. At the end of the season, you cut the foliage down and cover them up, whether it's with leaves or straw or some other means. Give them a little blanket to protect them from the weather, even if it's you only get you know, below 32 for a number of days out of the winter. You don't get the extreme kind of cold that we do. It's good to go ahead and protect them. And if you get the extreme cold, then absolutely you've got to cover your peony roots and make sure they're well insulated. And if you're operating at a commercial level, I hope if you're operating at a commercial level in Alaska, I hope you have a lot of this white stuff. So while we can grow peonies in Alaska, we can't grow peonies everywhere in Alaska. You know, it depends on the microclimate in any given region as to whether we can or cannot grow. Here at Eagle Song, where we're at, we average over 14 feet of snow during the winter. Generally, it will show up before the temperatures get really cold. Sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time it does. And so we're in a really good location to grow peonies and take advantage of that microclimate that exists here. Now, 14 feet, I could live with a little bit less, you know, and we've seen as much as 21 feet of snowfall during the winter. And when our snow comes, when it snows, it stays. And generally, it'll start snowing late October, early November, and it'll be with us until May. And so that's ideal. Sometimes I wish it was a little less, but I'll take the extra snow as opposed to none. And so anyway, just one of the big things, not a little thing, one of the big things that we depend on and we have to have, it's absolutely critical to have the snow on those fields back there in order to have something come up next spring. I think snow is so important that I continue to contemplate adding snowmaking machines to my arsenal to give me that insurance that my fields aren't going to freeze and not be covered with an adequate amount of snow. To me, it's that important. So, having said all of that, it is starting to cool down, and let's take a look here. I'll turn around and maybe you can see that the sun is getting ready to set there. It's about 3:16 in the afternoon, and temperature is going to drop about 15 degrees in about 15 minutes. So I think we'll wrap this up. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye.